Why is it that we spend years learning math, history, science, and countless other subjects, but somehow graduate into adulthood without knowing how to manage a paycheck, create a financial plan, or get out of debt? We learn financial lessons, but most of us learn them through experience, and sometimes those lessons are incredibly expensive. We learn after maxing out a credit card. We learn after missing a payment. We learn after taking out a loan we don't fully understand. We learn after realizing that our income looks good on paper, but somehow there is never enough money left over. And here's the strange part. Millions of people are going through the exact same thing. Yet talking openly about money is still considered uncomfortable, private, or even taboo. What if instead of hiding our financial struggles, we started comparing notes? What if we asked, how did you get out of debt? What worked for you? What mistakes did you make? And perhaps most importantly, what would you do differently if you could start over? Because there may be plenty of things that separate us, but when it comes to money, there's something an enormous number of us have in common: debt. Think about how strange our education system can be when it comes to money. We can spend years sitting in classrooms learning equations, writing essays, studying historical events, and preparing for careers. Yet many people enter adulthood without understanding some of the most basic financial concepts. How does interest work? What's the difference between good debt and bad debt? How do you create a realistic budget? How much should you keep in an emergency fund? How do you prioritize multiple debts? What does it actually mean to live below your means? And perhaps one of the most important questions: how much of your paycheck is already committed before you even receive it? These aren't obscure questions. These are questions that can directly affect someone's quality of life. And yet, for many people, the financial education begins when they make their first mistake. They get a credit card, take out a car loan, sign a lease, receive their first paycheck, and suddenly they're expected to understand a complicated financial system that nobody really explained. Of course, there are schools, parents, books, financial educators, and online resources that teach these concepts. But the problem is that financial education still isn't consistently treated like a fundamental life skill. And that's why so many people learn through trial and error. The problem with learning financial lessons through trial and error is that the error can follow you for years. A financial mistake isn't always just a lesson. Sometimes it becomes interest, late fees, damaged credit, and years of repayment. Here's another problem. Even when people are struggling financially, they often don't talk about it. We can talk about relationships. We can talk about careers. We can talk about sports, entertainment, politics, and almost anything else. But ask someone how much debt they have, how much they make, how much they have saved, or whether they're struggling to pay their bills, and suddenly the conversation becomes uncomfortable. Why? Because money has become connected to identity. People can feel like their income represents their success. Their credit score represents their responsibility. Their house represents their accomplishments. Their car represents their lifestyle. So admitting that you're struggling financially can feel like admitting that you've failed. But what if we looked at it differently? What if financial problems weren't something to hide, but something to learn from? Imagine if people could sit around a table and say, I had $20,000 in credit card debt. Here's how I got out. Another person could say, I bought too much car, and here's what it cost me. Someone else could say, I didn't have an emergency fund, and one unexpected expense put me into debt. Those conversations could be incredibly valuable. We don't have to share every private detail of our finances, but we should be able to discuss financial strategies without shame. Because when people stop hiding their mistakes, other people can learn from them. And maybe the person sitting across the table doesn't have to repeat the exact same mistake. People are incredibly different. We have different careers, different incomes, different families, different goals, different lifestyles, and different dreams. But there's one financial experience that connects an enormous number of people: debt. Credit card debt, student loans, mortgages, auto loans, personal loans, medical bills, business debt, buy-now-pay-later balances. Some people have a little. Some people have a lot. Some people have paid it off. Some people are still trying to escape it. And some people are taking on new debt just to keep up with the debt they already have. But here's the question we don't ask enough. How did we get here? Not in a judgmental way. Not how could you be so irresponsible, but genuinely, what happened? Was it an emergency? Was it a lack of financial education? Was it lifestyle inflation? Was it trying to keep up with everyone else? Was it an unexpected medical expense? Was it a job loss? Was it simply spending more than we earned for too long? And once we understand how we got here, the next question becomes even more important. What could I have done differently? That's where real financial education begins. Not with shame, not with pretending everyone starts from the same place. It begins with understanding the decisions that brought us here and identifying the decisions that can move us forward. Debt doesn't have to define someone. It can become a chapter in their financial story rather than the entire story. The good news is that we don't necessarily need to go back to doing everything manually to regain financial awareness. Technology can actually help us solve the problem that technology sometimes creates. Years ago, people might have carried checkbooks and manually balanced their accounts. They had to write down transactions, subtract expenses, and figure out how much money was actually available. Today, we have smartphones and financial technology that can perform those calculations much faster. The key is using technology to create awareness instead of simply making spending easier. That's one of the ideas behind paycheckplanner.ai. Instead of looking at your bank balance and assuming that the entire number is available to spend, the Safe to Spend section is designed to help you look at your money in context. Your account balance might look healthy, but some of that money could already be needed for upcoming bills, debt payments, savings goals, or other commitments. The Paycheck Planner can do the math for you so you can get a clearer picture of what money is actually available. In a way, it's bringing the old checkbook mentality into the modern world. You don't necessarily have to sit down with a pencil and calculator every night, but you still need to know what's coming in, what's going out, what's already committed, and what's genuinely safe to spend. Technology should make financial awareness easier, not eliminate it. The goal isn't simply to have a budgeting app. The goal is to have a financial system that helps you make better decisions before the money disappears. Maybe the biggest financial lesson we can teach isn't a specific budgeting formula or debt strategy. Maybe it's simply teaching people that it's okay to talk about money. It's okay to admit that you made a mistake. It's okay to say you're trying to pay off debt. It's okay to ask someone how they built an emergency fund. It's okay to compare strategies. It's okay to say, I don't understand this financial product. Can someone explain it to me? That's how people learn. Imagine what could happen if financial conversations became as normal as conversations about careers or fitness. Instead of judging someone for having debt, we could ask what they're doing to eliminate it. Instead of pretending everything is perfect, we could share the mistakes that cost us money so someone else doesn't have to repeat them. And this isn't about comparing bank accounts or determining who's richer. It's about sharing knowledge. Because financial progress isn't a competition. Someone else's success doesn't prevent you from succeeding. If anything, their experience could help you get there faster. Whether you're just starting your first job, raising a family, buying your first home, paying off credit cards, or rebuilding after financial mistakes, the important thing is to start paying attention. Know your numbers. Create a plan. Understand what you can safely spend. And don't be afraid to ask questions. We don't need another generation that learns every financial lesson the hard way. We can learn from each other. Use technology to make the numbers easier to understand and build a healthier relationship with money, one conversation and one decision at a time. If you're ready to stop guessing where your money is going and start creating a clearer financial plan, check out paycheckplanner.ai. The Safe to Spend section helps you look beyond your basic account balance and understand what money is actually available after considering your upcoming financial commitments. You don't have to be perfect with money. You just have to start paying attention. Visit paycheckplanner.ai and start building a better financial picture today. And if this video gave you something to think about, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this conversation. Because talking about money shouldn't be taboo. It should be how we help each other get better. Thanks for watching, and leave a comment to let us know your debt story, because we are building real financial progress, one step at a time.